Yo, what's up, folks? This is Impact, and I want to welcome you guys back to the Hurt Business 101. Let's get right into it, man. Y'all already know what it is. We got to break down this Earl Spence Jr., Terrence Bud Crawford fight, and man, all I can say is wow. It was total domination, and I must admit, I had Terrence Crawford winning this fight, and the strategy that he used to win the fight is exactly how I thought he would use it, but I never thought it would be this one-sided and this dominant of a performance almost from the beginning. All the way until the referee stepped in and stopped the fight ultimately. This video, I'm gonna break down the fight, what I saw, what happened in the fight, how it unfolded, but then also I want to have a different conversation, and that's about Terrence Crawford and where I believe he's at based on what he did on Saturday night, putting on that masterful performance. It was a sight to behold, man, for real. Let's get right into this. From the beginning, the first round went similar to how I thought it would go. It was about Earl Spence Jr. trying to find what was going to be his best course of action to mount his attack. How he was going to gauge Crawford to find out how to attack, how to get inside on him. And on the other side, I saw Terrence Crawford feinting, probing, using his little half steps in and out, trying to keep Spence a little bit cautious. But I thought his fill out was just to figure out how he was going to counterattack. So both of them had a fill out round. One guy and Spence trying to figure out his best course of action for mounting an attack, and Crawford trying to figure out how he would counteract whatever Spence was trying to do. And it started off just like that. The first round, a lot of feinting, a lot of jabbing, a lot of things with the feet. Just an average fill out round that I kind of lean towards. If I'm going to lean towards anybody in a fill out round, it kind of looked like Earl Spence was on the right path as far as doing what he, using his jab and keeping it pumping and things like that. That's what I pretty much figured he would do. But that quickly made a turn for the worse in round two. What I believe Spence would do going into the fight or what I thought he should do, was limit his output. You know what I mean? Like, he usually puts on the pressure, throws a lot of punches. I thought his best course of action would be to lessen his output, to give Crawford less opportunities. Crawford is looking to fill you out, to gauge your cadence, to figure out your timing and counter. And in my estimation, I thought it would be better for Spence if he, dialed down his output at least 25 to 30%. It's just, the way I felt about it, you get a guy less opportunities to get your time and less opportunities to counter you, you would have more success, is what I saw in it. That's what I thought he should do. But it's Earl Spence, and he has his mind made up on the way he's going to go about it. And hey, it's got to be a unified welterweight champion at this point. So, going into that second round, I saw him starting to pick it up. He started coming forward more. He started throwing with a little bit more conviction. And, I seen him using that jab to the body, trying to set up that right jab to the body. And about midway through the round, he got caught reaching. He tried to threw that right jab to the body. At the same time, Terrence Crawford took a half step back, caught him overextending, and threw a counter straight left, followed by a right power jab, knocked him off balance and knocked him down. And the weird thing about that is you would normally see it from the other side, or from the other side. You know, if Terrence Crawford was standing in his conventional stance, that would generally be a jab, straight right hand. But instead of him throwing the lead hand first, he threw the backhand first, which is the left. So he led with a straight left, which is a power punch that pretty much kind of knocked him off balance, and then finished with the power jab. The right hand jab is what deposited him to the canvas. And it didn't look like it should have did that much damage. But I noticed right after that, Spence kind of looked uneasy after that. I don't know if he just, at first I didn't know if he was just a little bit shaken by the fact that he got caught. You know, he got caught and knocked off balance, because I thought it was more of a flash knockdown. I didn't really think that had much on it. But I noticed from that point on, Spence never really looked comfortable. I mean, he did come back, and if you fast forward out of the second round, when the third round hit, you seen him get more and more aggressive. He just got more aggressive, and he started coming forward more, started coming in behind his jab, try to really dig to Crawford's body, and it seemed like he was getting in a little groove. And then Crawford kept sharpshooting him, started to sharpshooting again. And I turned and looked at guys because I had a party, and I turned and looked at some of the guys at my party, some of my homies, and said, look, this looked like it might be about to get bad for Spence, because I kind of felt it coming. I seen a switch, and then I seen Crawford hit the switch, and then he just started countering almost everything. I mean, just started coming like clockwork. And then I seen that the speed was a lot different. But, you know, I knew Terrence Crawford was cat quick. I knew he was faster. But it really looked like he was just like a lot faster. Like, I thought he was faster by a nice amount, but it seemed like along with it, maybe his timing was so good that it made him seem that much more fast. But I mean, he just started countering everything. Everything Spence would throw, he had a counter to come back with it. Even when Spence would make contact with him, he was able to catch Spence's shot and then shoot back on the same side and land his punches before Spence could even get his hands back home. You know, it was catch and shoots. It's throwing between the punches, and most of the time he caught Spence. I'm gonna say, outside of the jabs, when he was trying to establish that power jab, outside of that, every time Spence got caught and hurt, it came from either him catching a shot and returning, or punching in between Spence's shots. For instance, the first knockdown we just discussed. The second knockdown came from Spence once again reaching with a right hand jab to the body, and he was coming over the top with a left. But I mean, just after the straight right jab to the body landed, and he just began to lift that left hand and try to throw an overhand, Terrence Crawford hit him with a short right uppercut hook type punch and dropped him. You almost couldn't see it. You know, you almost couldn't see him slip it in there because of the angle of the camera. And he slipped that in there, and at that point I said, oh yeah, the power and the counter, and it's like he can't see these shots coming. And on top of that, the power that's coming with those shots is really causing him a problem. And then you fast forward, and he knocked him down a third time, and that came from Spence reaching again. Terrence kind of stepped out on the side, threw a right, he threw a lead right hook to the body, and then hesitated and used the same right hook and threw it up top while Spence was still, you know, kind of doubled over, and he fell again. Once he hit the canvas that time, I really knew that it was just a moment. It was just a matter of time, because he had been getting battered, and he had been getting caught with shot after shot after shot, and it was just like, you know, everything was just crashing down on him. And then the final sequence that got him stopped, Earl Spence, he threw overhand left at Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford caught that left with his right guard up top, and then he threw a looping right and caught Spence with it. Right off the catch and shoot. Fired it right back at him, caught Spence, hurt Spence, followed it up with a left hook, a right hook, and Spence started going back to the ropes. The referee then ran over and stopped Terrence Crawford from attacking him further, and he called the fight. I mean, this was a masterclass in counterpunching and overall awareness. I mean, it's not much. It wasn't much that Spence could do in this fight, and I noticed that early on. And to my surprise, because I did not see that type of dominant performance happening. And you know, that's all I gotta say as far as the breakdown. I mean, we all saw it. It wasn't you know, much more to it than that. It was one-sided. And as you can see, I'm kind of lost for words on it. But I want to get into this part of the conversation. I want to spend a few minutes here. Don't mind this video being long at all, because we're going to have to discuss this, because people acting like we didn't see what we just saw. We watched a multi-dimensional, all-time great fighter take on another guy who we all view as being at least a great fighter today, and one of the best fighters in the world. Terrence Crawford made Errol Spence look really, really ordinary. And that type of performance, I mean, you could pick any welterweight, and I know people want to, I'm not into doing, you know, a lot of the eras and stuff like that, but, you know, we can do this. I think Terrence Crawford that night is 50-50 with any welterweight in the history of boxing, and I'm not exaggerating it. You can't tell me for certain that you could drop any welterweight in the history of boxing off that night in front of that Terrence Crawford and guarantee me that they're winning. You just can't. I've watched them all. Anybody before my time, I've watched footage on them guys too. All the greats, I've seen footage. And what I'm saying is that night was a night where he's at least 50-50 with the best welterweights in the history of boxing, and nobody can convince me otherwise. Y'all can leave something down in the comments if you want to, but either way, I'm saying he's 50-50, and I'll stand on that right there. He's one of the best fighters that I've ever seen. And you know, I know a lot of fighters cliche. They say this was my best camp, or you'll see the best of me when I'm against the best competition. And most of the time, you know, sometimes the best does come out of guys when they get in there with better competition. They don't fight down to the level of their opponents and stuff like that. But this was the real deal. Anybody who wants to step in the ring with Terrence Crawford, this is what you're going to be up against. And like I said, man, Errol Spence, I don't see anything that he could do in a rematch that would even come close to him winning. I know anybody can get clipped. This is boxing. Anybody can get hit. They're wearing 8-ounce gloves. I get it. So anybody got a puncher's chance, but I'm not talking. But there's nothing that I seen in that fight. This wasn't a situation where a guy just got clipped, and you know he was putting up a good fight and then he got clipped. He picked that man apart like he was eating blue crabs. I mean, it was nothing close about this fight. It was total domination. He outclassed him from the second round on. It just looked like two guys that should have never stepped in the ring with each other. And listen, I'm usually not a guy that really enjoys these fights when it's one-sided, but when it's a one-sided fight, in these rare instances like Floyd versus Diego Corrales, it was one-sided, but Corrales at the time was viewed as a guy that was going to damn near kill Floyd. And in a lot of people's mind, Errol Spence was going to break Terrence Crawford and things of that nature. This was one of the best performances I've ever seen when two top guys stepped in the ring with each other. And yeah, man, it's nothing that Earl Spence can do in a rematch, as far as I'm concerned, that can change this. He should just, in my estimation, he should just consider this the one that got away. Move on with your career or retire, whatever you want to do. But this Terrence Crawford situation, nah. It's not even worth it at this point. But listen, who am I to say? Everybody needs to pay attention to this. Some guys are that elite that they can make extraordinary things look easy. I'm sure that was not easy to prepare yourself to the level to perform like that. But Terrence Crawford is like an apex predator. And once he smells blood, he goes in for the kill. His killer instinct is like the type of killer instinct like the Tito Trinidad and stuff like that. But he's putting he has like a diabolical science behind what he's doing. And I mean, second to none. Best pound for pound fighter in the world today is Terrence Crawford. Hands down. I want to thank you guys for tuning into this episode of the Hurt Business 101. And just remember, they say it's no business like show business, but I say it's no business like the hurt business. 1-0-1. Done.